I want to welcome everyone in for our security discussion this morning that we have brought in Renee and Norm. They both bring a tremendous amount of experience from an industry perspective, but also are going to be able to shed a great light on what we're looking to discuss today, which is how do organizations stay secure heading into 2023 with such a shortage in the security space. So I'd like to just turn it over to Renee, maybe introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and yeah, we can't wait to hear about you.
All right. So, like you said, my name is Rene. I have around 10 to 15 years of experience in multiple industries. I mean, I always say 10 to 15 because I've done a lot of stuff over the weekend, so I guess that doesn't count, but sometimes it does. So you gotta add it to the time. Um, I've been, healthcare, media, telco, finance now. I've been working for iBusiness Funding for almost 4 years, where I lead the information governance, risk and compliance programs. I also do the infrastructure and information security. I have my own team, so all of us we build everything from ground up. It also, everything started with my first computer. I was 5, so hobby that turned into a career. Breaking computers, fixing computers, and your neighbors, and then from there, first company that brings you in, and then you change everything that was wrong. My goal in life is kind of, just keep protecting businesses and individuals. It's again, it's a hobby that turned into a career, but it's also something I love doing. So it keeps me, awake at night and early mornings, just starting learning more, checking what's out there, checking how to make it better, and just helping everybody that it's in need of help. That's pretty much it. I mean, I started as web design, where I'm in some graphic design, and then one of those do it all IT guys, help desk, then into the systems, data centers, and then security, which is my place that I decided to stay in.
It's funny, a lot of professionals that I speak with, it seems like the entry level is help desk. Seems like a lot of people start there. But thank you. It sounds like you're kind of are in your career that is a labor of love, if you will.
Yeah.
uh, that's great, Norm. Love to hear a little bit about yourself.
All right, real cool. Daniel, Renee, thank you guys both for being on today. Daniel, thanks for inviting us.
Sure.
I've been Norm DeVoe. I've been doing technology and security, compliance, all that kind of good stuff for a number of years. I often say to people that I've been doing security and compliance and so on, especially security, since long before we called it cybersecurity. That's how long I've been doing this. I've got a degree in computer science from UC Irvine, Southern California, Zot. And I, have always enjoyed the technology space. I've worked in financial services. I've worked in real estate. I've worked in property management and manufacturing, garment manufacturing to a certain degree. It's definitely something that's evolving. I've seen so many changes over the years. It really is incredible the difference that it's making in people's lives and the businesses that the technology serves. I really, truly don't think that we would be in the economic growth state that we're in without the technology, and of course with strong technology people behind that technology and making it work. So it's been good. As I say, I've worked in financial services. I've got an interesting experience in that I've worked at a CPA firm, spent a lot of time at one firm in particular in Southern California. I essentially built the program. I was at the firm for a long time. When I started, there really wasn't much of a technology offering. There really wasn't a whole lot of security. Over a number of years, I was instrumental in building the programs for both of these sort of things, right? Interesting days, but I was always on the consumer side. We bought software and we looked at ways to implement it and secure it and make it serve the business and the client need. After working in the CPA firm, I moved to another company that was on the other side. They were a vendor, they were a SaaS vendor, and they served the CPA community very well, I might add. And it's interesting going from one side of the puzzle to the other. So being a consumer, being an evaluator, being an implementer, to being on the other side where you're a creator and you're trying to read the requirements of these different businesses and the individuals operating these systems.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that I think brings some different perspective into the whole thing that we're trying to do.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the both of you have quite a bit of experience, various experience. And really, what I wanted to kind of pick your brains about today was this idea. There's a major shortage in this industry, as from a professional availability standpoint. I think there's over 3 million security professionals. There's over 3 million security professional shortage currently, right now, worldwide. Companies are, it's budget season. Companies are looking at kind of what they're going to do right now to kind of shape 2023. Not only from a security perspective, of course, but from a security perspective, there's some challenges that whether they know about them now or they're going to learn about them shortly. There's some challenges that present themselves just from a talent availability standpoint. And talent in this industry is very expensive. So, Norm, I kind of want to just throw this one back at you. An organization that's looking to kind of enhance or begin their security journey, what are some of the things they should think about, whether it's actually hiring a person, hiring somebody to be there? What role would they be hiring, do you think, in the early days? And what is the beginning software or resources they would need to maybe be successful in their role?
So there's your question, Daniel. I recently, especially, I've seen a number of businesses that are established, mature businesses. They don't have much of a security program. They don't have a SOC. They don't have a dedicated team. They don't really have the tools, the infrastructure, and so on in place. And it's a big concern that I see. I think the first thing that a company needs to do is accept this idea that they do need to secure their data. They need to secure their process. For both, I think what I would always say is a moral reason. You have an obligation. People are entrusting information with you. Whether it's my background, financial services, whether it's health, healthcare, or anything else. People are entrusting their confidentiality to you, and a lot of companies don't take that seriously, in the sense that they haven't budgeted, they haven't planned, they haven't really looked at the risks, and so on. They might hire a security person and they bury that person somewhere in IT, right? So they don't really have a comprehensive picture. They're going to cherry pick the items that they think are forefront: passwords, firewalls, and some of these very high level concepts that are important, but they don't cover the range of issues. So I think, Daniel, your question is, who do you hire? How do you build a program? You need to get somebody who understands the wide range of issues, somebody who can talk to the business. First of all, understand what the business is about, understand the clients, understand the vendors, and these are all cliche sort of things, but they're not happening in many of these businesses. Understand what's going on. You need somebody who can straddle technology, security, and the business side, and understand whether that's a risk officer, whether that's a CISO type, whether it's maybe a fractional CISO. I think that's a great way to go. GRC consultant, whatever it is, get somebody at a high level who can assess the situation, and then from there decide which way the program needs to go, and balance in all these different factors, budget, acceptance in the company, acceptance in the client realm, legal issues, regulations, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Renee, curious from your perspective, like, some of the early positions that you think an organization should think about filling when they're building a security team. Is there a universal playbook? Maybe there's nothing universal that works, but are there
Yeah.
some like concrete positions that seem to make sense, you think, early on? Or is it kind of not a one size fits all solution?
I mean, definitely not a one size that fits all. But I do think that you have to start with the right leader. You know, you have to start with someone that is going to draft that cybersecurity plan. It's going to specify the security policies. It's going to build the procedures and controls, you know, required to protect the organization. Someone that the way I said is, you know, someone that's going to pave the way and then bring more people to the team to help, you know, this person, the organization in general, to make it happen. So you need someone that is going to lead the way. And yes, you can have a CISO, a TSO, a GRC, you know, head of the GRC, you name it. But someone needs to tell the company, the organization, what's needed. So I will start with the right leader.
Yeah. It's interesting, kind of how quickly the awareness of security has kind of grown in, let's just say, the last 5 years. It's certainly grown over the last decade, but it wasn't too long ago. I was reading a Forbes article that outlined it wasn't common for a boardroom to have a somebody in there that could read a financial P&L sheet, right? And now boardrooms commonly will have somebody on their board that's in the financial world that can actually look at a P&L and actually understand, hey, like, where are we right now? Where are we from a finance perspective? You raised it, and now it seems like the trend that it's going in is having somebody on your board that can understand the security risk and the security perspective, that needs to kind of be brought into the business from a holistic standpoint. Because generally, as I'm sure you guys have experienced, right? This is a top-down approach. Like, you can't push this in from the bottom. You have to have buy-in from the top that this is going to be, maybe if security is non-existent, it's going to be kind of accepted during this transition when organizations want to get secure. Norm, do you think about kind of that first hire after, is it policies that they're working on? Is it firewalls that they're working on? Is it kind of, what are some of the early days that activity that's taking place, do you think, from some of those first hires on a security team?
So maybe look at something like a 90-day plan.
Yeah.
Danny, bring somebody in, you got like 100, 90, 120-day plan. Again, I think, I believe that overall awareness is got to be your starting point.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand, you got to get to know, and again, it's all these cliches. Get to know the stakeholders, get to know the data, understand the client's expectation, understand the current capability of your team, where you're strong, where you're weak, what's the focus, and so on. And then, you start to kind of craft, some sort of an understanding of what's going on. I've worked in places where people will come in, whether it's security people or techie people or other folks. They already know how to fix all the problems, right? They haven't been in the business for, more than a minute or two. And in some cases, even before they start, they've already got it figured out. They come in and they fall flat because they're not taking the time to do their homework and put their plan together and start to understand. Understanding, the folks that you're going to be working with, building a relationship so that you can go to people and ask them questions. So when you make statements or ask these questions, so they trust you, they don't feel like this person's coming in and just, blah, blah, blah. Right. Yeah. I think you got to take it from there, and that's going to be 30 to 45 days or so. Don't rush that process. You got to get it done, but don't rush it. And then from there, it's a simple thing. You have a gap analysis. You hit a number of points, and you start to fill in the different areas that need to be worked on. And correspondingly, if you find areas that you're especially strong in, you need to decide, do you continue pushing your strength in those areas, maybe it's firewalls, maybe it's compliance, maybe it's policies and so on. Do you continue to push those and build the rest of the program maybe around some of the strong points? Or do you try to level out the field and try to hit all the different things that you identified as being weak?
Interesting. We're kind of talking about, and I'm leading the conversation in the way of like your first hire. But Renee, I'm curious, if there's a shortage in this, there is a shortage in this industry, over 3 million security professionals. Those that are going to land in an organization as their first hire of a security role probably will have a bit of experience. But when you kind of go to the other end of the spectrum, maybe someone that's looking to break into this industry. I was looking this morning. There are some entry-level jobs in the security space that require 5 years of experience. So it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to just break in. I think when you get to the top of the chain, just openly speaking, I think you have an opportunity to make some great income. But early days, grinding it out, it can be tough. Renee, what are the things, what are the classes, what are the degrees, or is it just work experience that people should be doing right now to prepare themselves for breaking into this industry and kind of reducing that $3 million person gap and starting to get more people into this field?
I'm gonna give you two answers. One is I'm gonna address it from the business side, which is that mentality from asking for entry levels, but hey, you have to have the 5 years of experience, while barely paying for the skills and knowledge. That has to change, because if entry level, this is 0 years. Now there's many companies now hiring inexperienced individuals because they can shape them from the beginning, train them like from ground, avoiding all the noise probably from bad experiences, like other jobs. Oh, we do this way, but now you got to do it this other way. So kind of they're like now noticing that, hey, this makes sense. Why don't I get someone out of college, no experience with computers other than whatever you do on a daily basis for your classes, but I'm gonna train you how to use this platform, because this is what we use here. So it is kind of changing really, really slow. But it's about changing that mentality. It's entry level, it's entry. You want something, someone with more experience, well, you have to pay the price because you pay for those skills, for that knowledge. For example, in my case, like I mentioned, I started, all the way down help desk, to the point that I am right now. I did try to find a balance between my skills, my experience, and the right certifications, right, for the path that I wanted to go. Not everybody needs to go through the same problem, right? Like a lot of people can just start as a cybersecurity analyst. If you like working on a SIEM or just building those reports. It's you can go vendors certifications. I mean, but something that I always recommend for those that I helped in the past and I'm currently helping, try to keep a balance. So play with it. Get your own home setup, build your own infrastructure, little infrastructure. Get a trial account with AWS, with any other provider out there. Just play with it. Just break it, fix it, break it, fix it until you understand it. I'm sure by the time you go to that first job, you're gonna know a lot more than if you were that entry level. Now you know more. You don't have like business experience, but you do have some knowledge with SIEMs. I mean, there's a lot of applications out there that you can have a trial, 30, 60 days. You can have a forever trial. You can do open source. There's many things. Now I'm not gonna lie. HR loves those certifications. So sure, get some of them, but build the skills. Get the knowledge, and then just go on and do the test and pass the test. That's fine. That piece of paper, it's probably gonna get you to the first interview, but you wanna make sure by the time you get to that interview, you know what you're talking about. You know like how to do things. The only way you can find, you can do that, either you play that, with those systems, or you find a job that is gonna train you. But if you wanna save time, and if you're doing this because you do like, love what the career is, what the industry, does, then play with it. You're gonna find your way. I mean, I have many servers and many VirtualBox machines all over the place. My Raspberry Pis, I mean, you name it. That's a rack that back there. It's just, I'm like, what I'm gonna build now.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between, like, like, what's your passion and what you're doing for the money, or maybe because let me, do this because my friend's doing it. But yeah, something that does work. Keep the balance between skills and certs. That's gonna get you past HR, and then you're gonna get the first interview, and then you're gonna be able to talk about topics because you played with them before.
Yeah. So in other words, Renee, go with aptitude.
Yes.
People are going to build skills, but you want, if you have your choice, what is it, aptitude or attitude, right?
Yes.
And you want to bring in people who have the willingness and the desire to learn this and doing these things. In my day, we used to get computers, and string them all over the office, the bedroom, right, and cable them up, and then mom or the wife or whoever would get upset, right, because you got such a mess. Nowadays, it's more virtual, and you can have these labs, and get comfortable and kind of decide that this is really what you want to do. Maybe there's different
Yes.
areas. You mentioned SEAM. There's a billion different directions you can go, but do these things on your own and kind of build it up. I had an experience not too long ago with a guy. He wanted to do an interdepartment transfer at a company I was working with, and he brought his resume over. He said he wanted to jump from one team onto IT, and he had all these things about what he'd done in in this other role he was in. I started talking to him. It turns out he had done all these things on the side in Azure. He had the free accounts, and he built all this cool stuff. And I said, why isn't this stuff on your resume? Because what you need to do is show me that you're ready to jump into my world. Get out of
Right.
your world, come into my world, right? And so we kind of dickered around a little bit. We kind of changed things up for him, and I think that in the long run that is probably going to help him. So show that aptitude, show that
Yep.
that desire and that willingness to get in there and get dirty and make a few mistakes. And it doesn't hurt anything if you're doing it in the home lab,
Correct. Yep.
right? And then make sure you talk about that as you're networking or you're interviewing or however you're doing your job search.
Yeah. I posted a poll last week in the same vein of the conversation we're having right now regarding the 3.4 million worker shortage from the cybersecurity industry. And I was curious to learn from kind of the community how organizations are going to react to that as they enter 2023. So the choices that I left were: are they going to bring in more consultants? Are organizations going to train up internally? Are they going to find automated solutions? Or are they going to hire inadequate candidates? Renee, what do you think? What trend do you think is going to happen? Consultants training up internally, maybe bringing on other solutions, or inadequate candidates?
I think it's gonna be a mix, because again, each business is gonna do it their own way, and depends on what they have right now. They will go. I have an internal team. I don't think we're getting anywhere. I'm gonna bring a consultant because that consultant supposedly knows, better. Maybe it's a small business and cannot afford like a full team, full-time team. Let me bring another consultant for the job. Definitely automation plays a big role, but before you integrate automation, who's gonna integrate that, right? Either you have an internal team that is gonna adopt that integration on that automation, machine learning or AI, or just applications that are gonna be running around the system, scanning for things and letting you know what's wrong and what's not wrong. But it's gonna be I've seen both in the past, and it's you have an internal team, you're gonna bring a consultant. You have a consultant hasn't worked, I'm gonna bring an internal team. It's like going from an internal IT department to I'm gonna go on MSP or MSSP, and then they go back and forth because it hasn't worked until they find that sweet spot that what, why don't we just delegate this task to the MSP, and then we handle these other ones. It's going to be a mix. I don't think it's going to be a selection of one of the three options. Someone has to implement the systems. It's either a consultant or a provider or your internal team.
Mm-hmm.
Norm, what do you think?
I Yeah, Renee, I think you're hitting it right on the head. You gotta, look across this range of requirements again, and you're going to bring these people in, and it's just again, where do you have the gaps, and what's the best way to fill them? Every company is going to have personality. The people you're going to work with, the leadership of the company, and every company is a little bit different, even if they're the same kind of company. And I'll tell you, I've seen this largely, in the CPA realm, although I know it happens all over the place, where the same companies, the same function, have a billion different ways to do different things,
Yeah.
right? And so you got to work around this personality. Um, don't neglect the different options for bringing in expertise. There's full-time, there's consulting, there's hired guns for security's sake. There's managed providers who can bring a lot of expertise into the realm as well.
Yeah.
And I think depends on the company, depends on the tolerance. For do you need to have somebody that you can walk over to, in the days if we ever go back actually to the office, and talk to somebody in person, or do you feel comfortable delegating and putting this in somebody else's lap and getting some sort of a systematic regular report on what's going on?
Yeah, I think the way I also think about it, I agree with both of you guys. I think it's going to be a blend, right? But I do think part of that kind of decision making is going to be based on where the organization is currently, right? Like, did they just get breached and now they need to react to that, right? That you may make a decision differently than if you were to let's just say, I don't know, go to a conference, hear a story about an organization like yours, read an article about an organization like yours, kind of start digging around, asking some questions about, hey, like, what kind of controls do we have in place around our sensitive data? How are we managing this? Holy smokes, we could be the next guys up. We need to start coming up with a good solution. So yeah, I agree with both of you guys. One of the things when we talk to some of our customers or different leads, we kind of help kind of shift the mindset. A lot of what we do is shifting the mindset from prevent breach to assume breach. And it helps, I think, organizations change the way they're thinking about security. It's not a scare tactic. It's actually making sure you are proactively understanding if you do nothing, you're really in a compromised position. And the problem with security is, you guys know this, you've had a career in this. When it's running well, people ask what you're doing. When it's not running well, people ask, hey, what were you doing?
That's a technology as well as security thing, Daniel.
Yeah.
What do we need you guys for? There's no problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like
We'll
we're
all
doing a job.
You don't need us? Fine, we'll leave.
That's it. Well, I can't thank both of you enough for kind of bringing some real industry experience to this conversation, because there's a massive shortage. I think that gap is going to really start to narrow in the coming years. I mean, people are always looking to see where the job security is, and if you can align job security with an interest that you actually have, I think information security and that umbrella, cybersecurity, I think they're incredible careers to shoot towards. I want to finish with just a really pointed question for each of you. And Norm, I'm going to start with you. Like, someone who doesn't have experience, let's say they're fresh out of college, a year or two, and they haven't really found like an entry-level job because they don't feel they have 5 years experience. What should they be doing? I know we talked about this, about, hey, like, kind of there's some free versions, build it and break it. But like, should those people be considering going back to school? Or do you think it's like, hey, get your feet wet? Maybe you're not going to make the most money, but any experience is going to be good experience to kind of start off. What do you think?
I think if you're fresh out of school, Daniel, and trying to decide where to go, don't rush into grad school or anything else yet, because you don't know where you want to go. And I think your undergraduate degree is important, but it doesn't define your career. Your master's degree or your subsequent education is going to define your career. So take some time. I'm an advocate in gap time. Go play a little bit. Get out in the world. Go see things. Get away from the parents. Get away from the educational, background that you have, and go live a little and get out. You might be surprised how things develop and really what you find out what your interests are. As far as technology goes, when you start to get on something, or actually even any career path, talk to people in the different businesses that you're interested in. And I can put this in context of my kids. They've got different interests and where they want to go. I tell them, go get on LinkedIn and find people who are doing what you want to do. And don't be afraid, send them a message. If you can, pick up the phone, that's even better. Talk to them. Hey, what's your day like? What do you do? Right? What impact are you making? Is it a good career? Would you recommend it? And just have a generalized chat with somebody. And I think, kids nowadays, they feel awkward about that. And I think that's something that they need to get past, because you got to be able to have a relationship again, for all these different reasons we've talked about. You got to develop the skills and the comfort to go ahead and do these things. It's all practice. So get out, talk to people in, these different career areas, and maybe look at a couple different ones and kind of see, is this something I really would like? And I think from there, you'll start to find that opportunities will come up. You'll be invited to conferences, meetings, these different sort of things, where professionals do their work. And just tell the kid, just sit back, just listen, just observe what's going on and see if this is something you'd be comfortable with. If it's something you're truly passionate about, we've been talking about tech. Sure, why not? Get the free accounts, start to build the thing on the side. It's not going to hurt you, because this technology is pervasive in a number of other industries. You don't have to be a technologist per se to be good at technology. And I think in a lot of cases, I've been seeing especially that there's kids coming out of college and they're applying their work. They're doing some great technical things, but they're not technologists. They're not IT people or security people per se. So get comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's incredible insight. Renee, what do you think?
I mean, it starts with finding what your passion is, and you gotta try it all, and find that the one that attracts you enough to make it what your long-term career is gonna be. Because there's a lot of fields and there's a lot of things you can do under the technology umbrella, right? That could be coding, cybersecurity. You could do compliance. You could do many things. Finding the right one, I mean, the only way it's just experience that, like try it all and see what you like. That jumping from job to job in different, totally different, fields might work against you. But it all depends on what is it that you're trying to do. But those first 2 years, I will be, I will make, if I had the chance again, I mean, I probably gonna end up in the same place. But it's about like finding what is it that you want to do in the long term. What is that you wake up every morning and you're like, and you just connect to it. You're not being forced to it. You're just like, this is my thing. I think that's the most important one. But that's one approach, right? From the person, perspective, the business perspective, which again, it's very related to that other question from a few minutes ago. It's that changing that mentality from the business, because you have these companies hiring. So there's a shortage, yes, but there's also a lot of people applying for jobs, and either companies are not looking for the right position because you come in and then they're like, hey, yeah, we need help desk and we need infrastructure. You better know all the cloud providers out there, and not only that, we gotta code, develop, and automate. And hey, can you also mine some data? Like, well, let's back up a little bit. I'm just, an IT analyst. So what's going on here? So companies, they need to know, these business owners, they have to be aware, to some extent about what is it they're looking for. For example, cybersecurity, right? So then you find a candidate and it's like trial and error because they don't know what they're looking for. So yeah, I need someone that can do it all. That's not a job. And even if you make it a job, you will have to pay for it, right? You get underpaid. So yeah, you were able to hire, to fill that position, but you were not able to retain that role because you're being underpaid now. You're doing way too many things. You're not supposed to be doing XYZ because that's not even on your job description, or maybe it's not something that is going to work to your advantage in the long term. Like, this is not my thing. Like, this is not gonna make any difference in my career. If I told someone in 20 years I did it, I'm like, that's not what you were supposed to be doing. We don't need that. Like, we don't care about that. So it's like wasted time, wasted experience. Again, it all depends on what is it that you were doing, but I feel like a two-way street. It's business organizations, they have to know what they're looking for, and then people, they just gotta get into that field that it's more than not just a job but a passion. It's something that you want to wake up and do it, and you can do it on Saturday night 11 p.m. and you don't care about doing it because this is my thing. This is what I do. I love what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I just want to thank you guys again. This is a conversation that I'm constantly coming across in the communities that I kind of walk between. Is just kind of, and I think we were able to bring some more kind of context to this conversation. So I appreciate both of you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation. Thank you both for being here today.
Likewise. Thank you, Daniel.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.